Hello, people watching this video, and welcome to the stream. It's been obviously it's been a while since the last stream and the last Bleach Abridged stream. I'm going to be starting tonight with another making of, a very short making of, doing a little bit of work on the post-production in Bleach Abridged episode 3. After that, I'm going to move on to some Awesome Knots, if I can run it, which I guess we'll find out. And I am already dropping a lot of frames, so this is looking promising. Alright, let me switch this over. You will notice that I'm going to be using monitor capture, because that's the only way for video to be picked up within Adobe programs, which I use. So, I'm going to go ahead and you can see my fancy desktop and the chat and everything else. And this little curious section here. It's mesmerizing, isn't it? Alright, let's see if Adobe After Effects wants to load up. Alright, and I will have to check the volume levels as well. This is probably going to run very poorly because this program can barely operate without anything else running on my computer, let alone when I have the chat open and I'm streaming. So we'll see. Also want to test the I want to test the volume levels, so I'm going to do that real quick here. Damn it! It's a little loud. Okay, maybe I can turn this down. But how far down? That we find out. Damn it. Damn it. That should be good. That's fine. It's fine. Okay. So, this is the third stage of production for each episode. I've done videos of the first two already. I did the audio production, which is me going through all of the voice recordings that we've done and picking out the takes that we're going to use in the final episode. There is the video production, where I actually match the voices to the mouth movements and export everything in Adobe Premiere. I use Audacity for the first stage, Premiere for the second, and we have all of these shots. Those are all of the complete shots for the final episode that have been exported already in Premiere. And then finally the post-production is just simply putting it all together, which is more work than it sounds like. Because I'm about, I want to say 2/3 to 3/4 through the episode, so it is near completion. Jack is in charge of the, Jack Anderson is in charge of the sound design on this episode. And I've been sending him the shots as they are completed, and he's been working on the sound effects to be used in those shots. I still manage the voice work. Jack is working on Foley, basically. So that's been something he's been playing with. And he's been sending me the sounds as he completes them. He's actually a little bit slow of late, where I don't have very many sounds to work with today, so this will be a very short look. Or I'm not gonna get a lot done right now. But, you know, this will give you guys a look at the post-production stage. And now you're gonna see my folders, because I got to go and where am I going? I need to go and get Jack's sound effects. Oh, you get a sneak peek at the tentative title for episode 4 while you're here too. Alright. So these are all the effects that Jack has sent me thus far, and I have a few new ones that he sent me just earlier today that I can add tonight. And sometimes they're hit and miss. Sometimes, depending, I may have to override a sound effect, or if I'm missing one for a shot, I might have to still do a little bit myself. I did all of the sound design for episodes 1 and 2, so logically they should have taken longer, but episode 3 has taken quite a while just because life has been repeatedly kicking me and Jack in the balls. And we haven't, it's hindered things, shall we say. Alright, so you guys, this is yet another sneak peek at the episode. The most complete sneak peek you'll be getting. But I'm going to do my best not to spoil too much. Granted, I don't think many people are going to be watching this video until after the episode comes out anyway, but you know, I try. Spoiler, the Soul Reaper gets hit. If you haven't watched Bleach before. Okay. So in After Effects, I can piece all of these together frame by frame, which is nice for editing purposes. The biggest issue with After Effects, aside from file type compatibility, I can't load a lot of... It's very picky about video types. But the biggest issue is the lack of a good preview. At least if you're not running on a supercomputer. Because it runs the preview straight off the computer's RAM. Meaning I can only see as much as my RAM can hold at one time, which is about 10 seconds on a good day. It helps in this work area here because the program expects to have that ready to load. So I can usually, let me save this, just because I added those files. I can usually play within this work area pretty quickly. But if I need to, say, go back further in the episode without moving the work area all the way out there, then it takes quite a while to load into the RAM and actually play the preview. So honestly, in terms of just seeing what you're working on and having sort of a tangible example as you're working, Windows Movie Maker is better than Adobe. But in terms of the stuff you can do, this is you just can't compete, obviously. Damn it. Okay, Ichigo dashes away. Jack numbers and describes his sounds for me, so it makes it a lot easier to figure out where exactly they're supposed to go. Let's see. I don't feel like this really needs another sound, but we'll see how we'll see what he has for us. It's a little something. If say the background music sounds loud, I also do the audio leveling here in After Effects. So I will be tweaking the levels, either making them louder or softer as necessary as I go through the sounds in video files. And I presume I'm dropping a lot of frames right now, because I've been having a lot of issues with that. Ooh, yeah, that's a holy cow, that's a lot of frames. See that right down there? That has been the bane of my streaming existence of late. And that's going to happen every time I play the preview, because that's the most resource intensive part. Alright, the dash sound is a nice little addition. Whenever I can, I fix the sound effects, well, the voice effects, including, actual effects, the grunts and such, in the video in Premiere before I export it, because that tends to be easier than trying to time it in After Effects just because of the preview thing. But in cases where the voice plays between shots, like if there was something playing right here, I'll leave it out and save it for After Effects to put in later, which is kind of a pain for Jack, but It's what I have to do. Okay. Attacks Karin. Let's see what he's got for us now. Yeah, this music is pretty loud. In fact, where's the BGM? BGM, here it is. I am just going to mute that for now. Okay, so that needs to be a bit earlier. And that runs a very long time. Okay. So I'm going to have to cut that off early and probably lower the volume a bit, or lower the volume a little bit. We'll see. Okay, that's pretty good. Now see if I can shorten this to the point that the other sound effect cuts it off, because that's a lot quicker and easier than the alternative of me opening the file in Audacity and doing the, the full-on editing there. Which I could do, but if I can avoid it, this episode has taken long enough. I want to save time. Okay, that's a good cutoff point. Wait, why is that? That is awfully loud. 88. Oh no, that's line 80. Okay, never mind. Catches way free. Yeah, that's the one that I want to lower a bit. Sorry if I'm quiet, by the way. That's just me. That's my fault. That's just me. Okay, that's a little nicer. And just like that, that's all the sound effects that Jack has given me. So I'm gonna need a dramatic. Maybe I should just find a dramatic reaction shot there. I got those. In fact, I've used plenty this episode that I could probably reuse if I wanted to. This is kind of a old favorite, a default that I go to a lot. It's not very impactful, though. Nah, I don't think I'm gonna... Don't think I want to use that one. Big reveal. What's that sound like? That's pretty impactful. Maybe too impactful. In fact, that's a very sudden transition. I wonder if I wanted to white that out or something. I feel like I remember having an intended transition there when I was making these shots. And that's kind of the trouble with having such a long production process, is that you forget your own ideas. Okay, more sounds. Gonna need a sound for each go landing. And when I'm exporting... When I'm exporting these shots from Premiere, I usually leave some extra on the front and the back, moving extra up to an extra second, so that I can vary how long I want the shot to be, because I can always cut it down in After Effects very easily. Let's see if I don't want this to be quite so long. Let's say here. In fact, that might still be a bit long. Chop a whole second off, see how that looks. We are trying to make the series shorter, after all. That might be a little too short now. I'm still deciding whether I want to add a fading transition. Hello, Kimberly Reeves. Good to see you. If I want to add a fading transition before or after this shot. And how I want to... And there's a lot of... Despite having all of the footage already, you know, played out and put out and everything, well, in front of you, rather, there's still a lot of the creative decisions that go on here in post-production. Okay, just for example's sake, I am going to draw a rectangle. Draw a happy little rectangle. It'll be right here. It'll be our little secret. Okay, rectangle. I drew you. Where are you? No, not a mask. Sorry. I forgot. I have to have nothing selected when I draw the rectangle. Otherwise it does some weird thing that adds to the shot itself. Why am I drawing a rectangle, you ask? Well, we will get to that. And the reason is, wow, that is bright. That is bright, bright, bright. This is how we do fading transitions. I'm going to scroll this down to where I want it. And then the fun part of chopping off bits. Big bits. Really big bits. So how are you? Oh, come on. Almost there. There we go. And I want to put this above the shot that I'm using it on, because as you can see, footage appears in priority from the top down. So since this video file comes before the shape, it appears over it. So I'm going to stretch this out and chop all this off. And then I'm going to stretch it back. Okay. And now I'm going to do some fancy fading stuff. Contents, transform. And this is where we animate the footage. I can change its position. I can change its size. Its rotation. And its opacity. And all sorts of other things. I can make it a 3D object and rotate it in space. Ooh. And we use that in the intro to Bleach Abridged. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to animate the opacity to make it a fade. And so over there I just set it at 100%, and over here I will set it to 0%. And then I want it to fade out faster than that. Actually, that's a little bit... There we go, a little bit off. Let's say I want the fade out to last. This is frame 15. Let's say half a second. So opacity back to 0. And since we don't need all of that, we'll just chop that down too. See, I want to be able to work with the individual frames because that's important to do. So now let's look at this. And so I added a fading transition. That's still a very bright red though. I wonder if I might want to tweak that a little bit. Make it just a teeny tiny bit darker. Maybe a teeny tiny bit duller. It's probably redundant for me to play things over so many times. It's just my watching things over and over and over again to see if I like how they turned out. And so that's a little bit in. I'm gonna need more sounds from Jack in order to continue adding sounds from here, but I can at least put a little bit of the video files together. Some more of the shots. What are you using to chop off those bits? Yes, this is Bleach. I'm working on episode 3 of Fourth Seat Studios' Bleach Abridged, which will hopefully come out soon. TM. I need to zoom this in just a little more. There we go. Okay. Why? Dude. Okay, I think I am going to stop with the videos here. Now, because this is the final stage of production, this is the final file that's going to be exported into video and uploaded to Vimeo and Dailymotion. But not YouTube, because YouTube, hates abridged series and is stupid. Which means the intro, or the disclaimers also included in this. And now we see how long it takes to load outside the loading zone. Mixing audio. We wait. And we wait. Okay, I'm bored already. Did it freeze? Is Adobe still operating? See, nothing is even moving on the screen. This is just a static screen, and it takes this long to put everything together for a preview if you're outside the work zone. It's pretty abysmal usability. And granted, it wouldn't be quite this bad if I were not streaming right now. Okay, I'm gonna call it. This is not happening. It is not going to do the loading while streaming. at all. So, stick to Windows Movie Maker if you can. Never thought you'd hear that from a video editor, I know, but, goddamn Adobe. Optimize your shit. Okay, and with that, I've pretty much done all I can do for the time being. So, I am going to move on to Awesomenauts, and we'll see if that will run now that my computer's having these issues. So, stick around, and we will be right back.